Tim Legler's Washington Commanders. Does he really want so desperately to go play for his old college coach Antonio Pierce, now with the Raiders? He has been at the center of all this speculation. He was asked about the Raiders. Here's what he said.
What would that be like to be reunited with a guy that you was with at Arizona State?
I don't know how they're going to pull it off. But I mean, that's above my pay grade, man. AP, just as a human being, he the right coach for that team. Just him and the intensity that it brings. He challenged people. He challenged me at 18. So I know if I was to go to the Raiders, I'm not saying I'm gonna go there or I want to go there. I want to go wherever my name called. But if I was to go to the Raiders, I know as soon as I step foot, he's gonna challenge me.
I mean, you see the smile on his face. It lights up as he talks about his old coach. Sort of the way I feel when I see Dan Orlovsky pop up on the screen and Mike Tannenbaum and Dan Graziano here as we sneak in some football during this really busy basketball morning. Graziano, I'll start with you, my insider extraordinaire. Clearly, he would like to play for the Raiders. Is there a realistic path to that happening?
No, well, not if Washington is going to take him, right? Like that's the thing. If Washington wants to take him, then they'll take him. Washington's made it clear they don't want to trade out of the 2 pick. Now, if Washington were to take Drake Maye or J.J. McCarthy, which, we don't know for sure, it feels like that would be a surprise, then all of a sudden the Raiders have to get to 3, where the Patriots seem a little more interested in at least fielding calls. So could they outbid the Vikings to get to that spot? Could they outbid the Giants to get to that spot? They're not in the best shape in terms of what they have to offer, but they'd probably make an effort. And my goodness, if he were to slip to 4 in Arizona somehow, then I think the Raiders would be very, very aggressive in trying to get up there.
Orlovsky.
If the Washington Commanders don't take Jayden Daniels, that's a mistake. If they don't take Jayden Daniels, that's a miss. Everyone knows that I would take him number 1. So if they're going to be willing to do that, the Raiders should absolutely try. Greeny, just to be very clear about the Raiders, you don't have a chance over the next, let's call it 8 years in that division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert unless you get a star at quarterback. Yes, it is wildly expensive. Yes, it would wink in your football team when it comes to the potential draft picks and assets of the future. But what else is your alternative? What's your other option? To continue to just play third fiddle in your division at best? At quarterback, Devontae Adams, who you gave a boatload up for a couple years ago, is 31. He's not getting younger. For that trade to pay off, at some point you have to go get a quarterback. So if Washington doesn't do that, then the Raiders absolutely need to try to get aggressive, even though it's going to be a lot to get up there and see if they can get Jayden Daniels.
Mike T, my general manager, and I'll remind everyone, he was a general manager in 2 different places. Walk me through this. If you're Washington, if you were getting signals, let's start with this. Are we certain that Jayden Daniels is their guy? You've told me repeatedly you would take Drake Maye number 2. But if you've decided Jayden Daniels is your guy, and he seems uncertain about what he wants, how do you handle it?
Yeah, I make sure that he's comfortable coming to Washington. You're going to be a commander. We're going to accomplish great things together. The bottom line is I don't anticipate anybody sitting out for a year. Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, or anybody else. So I get with him. Maybe I fly down to Baton Rouge and say, hey, here's our vision for you. Have your inner circle around, your mom, your agent, but you're going nowhere. You're not going to be a Raider. You're a commander, and we're going to do great things together and nip any of that speculation in the bud. I wouldn't return a call if I was Washington. To Dano's point, Greeny, I am taking a quarterback at number 2 and never looking back.
All right, and so that would leave us in a completely different place. Yes, Graziano, go.
Yeah, look, we got to be fair to the young man. He very clearly said, I want to go wherever my name is called.
Yeah.
He was asked a direct question about Antonio Pierce, who he loves, right? And that would be great. I worked with Antonio Pierce. I'd love to work with him again. He's a great guy to work with. But I think Jayden Daniels, those conversations between him and the Commanders have already happened.
NFL draft people, we've got our general manager, Mike T, with us here. And I would like to ask you right now, is there something that one team is doing, even as we speak, right this minute, that could change the entire top of the draft?
Greeny, the Minnesota Vikings should be on the phone with the Arizona Cardinals and not getting off the phone until there is a deal right now. In fact, that call should have been made the second that Kirk Cousins' agent told them that he was going to be an Atlanta Falcon. And so to me, I want to be proactive. I want to box out the competition, and I want to make sure that I am drafting a quarterback at number 4.
So it's interesting. They have already made that one move that bought them the extra ammunition in this offseason to try and go up there, Dan Graziano. What do you think? All of a sudden, number 4 becomes a very interesting spot.
So Monty Ossenfort, the Cardinals GM, has come out and said he does not want to make any trade for that pick until he's on the clock. He wants to see which quarterbacks go off the board, 1, 2, 3, and then that will determine his market. Those conversations have definitely been had. I believe that the Vikings know what it would take to get the 4th pick. I believe the Raiders know what it would take to get the 4th pick. I believe the Giants know what it would take to get the 4th pick. But the question is, will they make the move? Last year, during the draft, Tennessee had a contingency. They had a trade. They were going to go up to 3 and take C.J. Stroud. But once Stroud went number 2, they backed out of the trade, and Arizona and Houston did a trade instead that ended up with the Will Anderson pick. So it will depend on what happens with those first 3 picks, what Arizona can get at 4, and Ossenfort knows that.
Orlovsky, go.
Yeah, it starts at 2. What do the Washington Commanders do at 2? And then what do the New England Patriots do at 3? If I understand where Mike T's coming from, I've said this, if those guys go 1, 2, 3 and J.J. McCarthy is left there at 4, I think Minnesota goes and gets the move, and I think J.J. McCarthy automatically becomes the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's ideal when it comes to his skill set with Kevin O'Connell's play-action pass offense. The really interesting thing will be if McCarthy goes above number 4. Okay, let's live in the world with Caleb 1, Jayden Daniels 2, and then J.J. McCarthy 3. Does Minnesota want to get really aggressive for Drake Maye? I know that they love Drake Maye, but then they have to be patient with Drake Maye. And that will be interesting to see. Do they continue to stay as aggressive with a player that's probably not going to see the field for at least a year or 2 in Minnesota?
Yeah, absolutely. Mike T, take us through that part of it. Go.
Yeah, again, if I'm Minnesota, I have to get a quarterback, and when he's ready to play, look, that's why he went out and signed Sam Darnold. But as soon as you lost Kirk Cousins, you had to get up to 4. And what I'm saying is, Greeny, you tell Monty Ossenfort, look, I am paying a bill. We're not negotiating. Tell me right now what's going to cost. And B, if it's J.J. McCarthy or Drake Maye, Greeny, it really doesn't matter because you're making this decision for the next 10 years, not for the next 10 weeks. So that's why you have Sam Darnold, but you have to get one of these 2 quarterbacks.
Danny.
Mike T, is it about getting ahead of the New York Giants? Because I think the Giants have to be aggressive as well. Is it about making sure you get ahead of the Giants or the Chargers?
Well, it's about the Giants. It's about, to me, the Raiders, possibly the Broncos. There's too much variability there. And again, as soon as I lose Kirk Cousins, I am not getting off the phone with the Arizona Cardinals until I have a deal. Monty Ossenfort, tell me what the bill is. I am paying it because I'm assuming that New England's taking a quarterback.
Graziano, go.
But so it's going to all depend on who goes 1, 2, 3, right? If the Raiders have a deal in place to go to 4, but it's only if Jayden Daniels is there, then your market shrinks as soon as Daniels is picked 2nd. So if you're Ossenfort, the move is to wait. Let's say the Giants like Drake Maye and are only going to go to 4 from 6 if it's Maye there. Then, you know, that helps you if you're Monty Ossenfort, play the Giants off the Vikings. So he has a ton of picks. He has experience from last year doing very similar things here, and he's comfortable waiting.
I think if there's one message that we're getting loud and clear here, the order of the quarterbacks will determine who is interested in coming up and making these trades.
Yes.
I'll be fascinated to see what the Giants decide to do. There may be circumstances they do and circumstances they don't. There are 3 wide receivers that feel as though they've separated themselves in this class. If Arizona wants to make sure they get at least one of those 3, they have some wiggle room.